Yes. Amen
Everybody
to
should be
that.
reading.
Yeah, I love self-help and, personal development books. I'm all about it. It's I don't know why I got into it, but at some point along the road of doing this, being, I wouldn't call myself an entrepreneur, but like a freelance entrepreneur or whatever.
You are. You have to be. You are an entrepreneur. If you're freelancing, that means you were forced into being an entrepreneur. Maybe you don't identify as one, but you are by nature an entrepreneur.
I guess so. I would say a mini entrepreneur, or
maybe
something.
no Jeff Bezos, but like an entrepreneur nonetheless.
Don't want to be Jeff Bezos. Yeah, exactly. That's not. I'm trying to make the world a better place. I'm not trying to get to other worlds. That's my goal. You know what I mean? But I mean, he's done amazing things for the world also. But anyways, we don't have to get into politics or or Jeff Bezos. Have you seen Inside, the Bo Burnham thing on Netflix?
I haven't yet.
Okay.
I actually like a secret passion of mine. I love comedy. I will, if people ask me to go to a comedy club or a show, I will always pick the comedy club 9 out of 10 times. I have not gone into Bo Burnham yet.
Okay, cool. I wasn't into his earlier stuff, but then Inside was just so of the moment. It was brilliant.
I heard it's really different. I heard it's not really comedy.
It's art. It's like
that's what I've heard.
It's its own thing. Check it out. You let me know what you think after you watch it. Set aside an evening.
Because I'm not typically a huge Bo Burnham fan for his comedy, but people keep saying really kind things about it. So
yeah. Someone. I'm really into like Flight of the Conchords, which is I don't know if you know Flight of the Conchords. It might be before your time.
No, I know Flight of the Conchords. Are you kidding me? I love Taika Waititi. Is one of my favorite directors of all time. I lived in Hawaii for a minute. Had like a bunch of Kiwi friends. Like I love New Zealand culture and humor. Love that stuff.
Awesome. Okay, amazing. So I love Flight of the Conchords so much that I sort of had a folk parody duo in college with my buddy Yitzy, and my wife and I flew to England to see Flight of the Conchords 4 years ago, which was badass.
Oh, what a dream come true! I love Flight of the Conchords.
Yeah, they're hilarious. So I'm definitely into comedy and into music. And then someone's like, "Oh, you have to check out Bo Burnham," and I was like, "This is not for me." I wasn't into it. But then Inside happened, and then Inside was a turning point for me.
I do think comedy is important for mindset to kind of toughen up your skin, to not take things personally, as well as like a form of intellectual practice to kind of think outside the box. I think comedians are extremely smart and insightful, and I just love it so much.
Right, that self-deprecation thing goes far.
And sometimes it's not even self-deprecation. Sometimes it's just like insight.
Right.
And like in a way where it's like they're saying some really fucked up shit, but in a way where like, oh, yeah, in that perspective, it makes sense. Yeah, it doesn't. It's like kind of like makes fun of generalizations of things.
Yeah.
In a sense. I love that.
Maybe comedians are just smarter people
absolutely.
than the rest of us, and they're able to kind of...
Jordan Peterson says that definitely comedians, like being able to be quick-witted is a form of intelligence. And he's a psychologist, so I trust what he says in that sense.
Yeah, he's one psychologist. Yeah, totally.
He is a psychologist.
He is definitely a psychologist. Awesome. Wait, so back to mixing stuff.
Sorry, I apologize. Getting way off tangent.
No, I love it, man. So I was my buddy Travis has a podcast called Progressions. I don't know if you know Travis. He's also out in LA.
Not yet. I'd love to know Travis.
Yeah, another podcaster on the scene. Someone he was interviewing somebody who said, "Yeah, there will be tangents," and I just thought that's such a good title for a podcast episode. Like that would be so good. It's like, there will be blood, there will be tangents.
I'm afraid that most of the time on my shows, I don't ever know if we actually get to the point of what we're supposed to talk about.
Yeah, I don't know. The couple, the few I listened to, you got there. I'm
glad, because it's like oftentimes it feels like ADHD had a show and it's this. Like,
welcome to the ADHD show.
It feels like that sometimes.
Yeah, I feel you, man. Well, I admire your ability to be so free spirited on the air. I feel like, I don't know if I'm reserved, but I definitely like try to be as. I'm getting over my perfectionism in life. That's what I'm aspiring to do. So obviously I edit the show. Now I'm hiring out to edit the show, and try to present people as well as I can on the air. It's like, I don't know. It's interesting to kind of like, yeah, I admire your ability to just kind of be you and without any, bars held or whatever, so to speak.
And to this, I respond with an actual like big thank you, because unlike what people perceive, I may be confident or seem confident. I'm glad that I do, but it's taken a lot of work, and there's been many complex moments in my life, things that I needed to see a therapist for to get over, to get to this point where I at least come off confident. And the reason why I say thank you is because I've been working on it, and I try very hard. We're all, especially like, I'm aware enough to know that I'm not good at everything that I do, and getting over that is honestly quite scary. And people think like, DK, I wish I had the confidence that you did. Nah, what are you talking about? Like, I'm working on it. So I really, really, from the heart, I appreciate those kind words.
For sure, man. Yeah, we're all working on it. We're all works in progress. That's the thing. Yeah, it's cool to see, if you go to therapy, which I'm currently in therapy for the first time in
highly recommend for everybody.
15 years or something. And I actually studied psychology in college, to be honest.
Oh, we will get along. We will get along.
All right, dope, man. Yeah, it's crazy to see like, the things unfold and the progress, and like, realizing you can be more present in certain moments where you were maybe less present, and trying and realizing why maybe you're being perfectionistic, or you're not letting go, or you're people pleasing, and like, stuff's a journey, man. And you slowly, when you understand why you're doing it, you could kind of move past it, or try to, or accept it, which is maybe something I need to start doing more of.
What I do recommend is not as a religion, but to practice as principles, is I really recommend every creative in any capacity to look into Buddhism. There's a reason why Buddhist principles are being used in therapy sessions a lot more. It's very different. It's not about God or the most of the Judeo-Islamic Christian kind of cultures. Actually, Buddha actually says you shouldn't look into the existential. Everybody's suffering, but finding out where the poison arrow came from is less of a priority than treating the wounds that you already have now in the present moment. So he talks about being present, and it doesn't matter. You don't have to be Buddhist to study its principles. And I do recommend every creative to find peace and order and find how to be moment in the present. Through Buddhism, which I grew up with because I'm Asian, right? So like, I wasn't a Buddhist. I'm very Christian by nature. I'm actually huge into theology. Like I actually did a lot of seminary and world religion classes in college. That was one of my minors. And I think studying Buddhism helps every creative specifically.
Yeah, the mindfulness thing. And I think somebody recommended I read maybe The Power of Now, or the follow-up to The Power of Now. I forget.
Power of Now is I haven't read that one yet, but that's exactly about being present from what I understand.
Right. Like the subconscious, when you realize that your mind is working, that's like your actual consciousness is like realizing that your brain is working, even though, or whatever it is. It's like the thought behind the thought,
It's a lot of like stoicism in general. Like just trying to be stoic, not react, just to be in control of yourself and recognize that all the suffering, most of the suffering that's coming from you is made up from your head. It's not real.
Right.
They're not real. You make it feel like it's suffering. That's what most of it is, right?
Right. It's like hormones and who knows.
We're talking about philosophy and theology.
I'm not a biologist.
On this podcast about music, which it
could go anywhere, man.
I honestly think it's important to think about, because at the end of the day, what's a good mix? Who's to determine which mix is better than the other than the artists themselves? So is it more philosophical what we do? Is it okay to say that there's not a right answer? I feel like I try to teach that, recognizing that there is no right answer, that everything is okay, that things sound bad and that may sound better though.
Yeah.
Is what instills confidence. Understanding that. I don't know. Maybe there's something that can kind of connect with all this.
Yeah, totally. It's all subjective, and there's trends, sure, and there's things that we maybe want to hear more of or less of, but there's no right answer for any mixing. And but you have control over your taste, and the artist has control over the taste, and you can work together and collaborate and just achieve the vision that you have in your head, and that's it.
There's only one band that's like perfect to me. I don't know if you're familiar with Jack Stratton and Wolfpack.
Of course. Massive fan.
I don't care what you say. They're amazing. I love them so much. I think, and not just from a musical, like obviously I know I'm a singer, but I'm one of those singers that appreciates musicians more than singers. I did my theory stuff. And from a business standpoint, Jack Stratton is a genius.
So smart. They're so smart.
Oh my gosh.
Did you listen to? There's no way you're not a guitar player, are you?
I play a little guitar, yeah.
Did you listen to Corey Wong's podcast?
Wong Notes? No, I haven't listened to his podcast, but I know he has one.
He interviewed John Mayer, and John Mayer was like giving, Corey or Wolfpack total props. He like Jack is like the smartest, like business savvy, like music person. I like consume more Wolfpack content than like any other artist because your content on Instagram just like immediately grabs me, and I'm always watching it.
Oh my gosh. I think they're so genius in so many ways. And it's crazy to me, like so many things that we can learn from Jack. I think the most important, again, coming back to what I think the philosophy of being a musician and being creative is like, if he cared, if he took himself more seriously. I mean, have you seen his old videos pre-Wolfpack where like hyper compressed microphone, really speaking awkward and like it's just a really goofy dude. And if he ever took himself too seriously, like all of us do, it would not be half as authentic, half as good. It's because he just doesn't give a shit.
I admire that.
It's so amazing. I respect him so much as a person. And obviously their music sounds good. My wife, I mean, that's again, like I listened to like Japanese 80s pop growing up and like Motown and Stevie Wonder. Michael Jackson's like my favorite artist of all time. Maybe not Wolfpack. Yeah, Michael Jackson. I'll still say Michael Jackson is the safe answer.
Whatever's you can say whatever you want to say.
And then
your choice.
So like for me, that sound is perfectly great for me, but it might not be for you. It doesn't matter. Like Jack is undeniably a genius. And I think the genius is not from intelligence, but a lack of care. I think genius, like I think to a certain degree, Cardi B is a genius. Like she's an idiot, but she's a genius to not give a shit about what other, I would say like people that listen to podcasts are statistically a little bit more intelligent and usually have college degrees, like statistically smarter people. But that doesn't mean we're wise or we're smart. Like, we all know, we're aware enough to know that being insecure and to take yourself too seriously is only hurting us. We're all aware that we're stopping ourselves. We're in our own ways. Yet how difficult is it to actually not care? Like it's almost impossible to do it on purpose. I honestly my son, my youngest. I have two kids. My youngest, who's a year and a half, he's Down syndrome, and he's never going to develop an ego, right? And Down syndrome kids are known to be like, if they see you, they're just really honest. Like it's like, oh, you've gotten fat, haha, and they're really loving, they're cuddly. There's no ego. They're just really honest, and they're usually the wisest people ever. Autism, it develops like savants, usually like kind of sacrificing intelligence for like social compatibility there. But Down syndrome kids are usually the wisest people because they're never able to develop an ego. There's a sense of genius, and if you read the book Flowers for Algernon, which is a science fiction book about a mentally less capable man that gets surgery and becomes really intelligent, and then over time gets his mental retardation back again. And it's actually a really sad story. Incredibly sad story. I highly recommend it. I read it because I had a Down syndrome son.
Wow. Yeah, I read it, I think, in like elementary school or middle school or something.
It is genius and absolutely wonderful to not give a shit. And that includes your parents. You should definitely care about your spouse and your kids. Like their opinions do matter. You're married to them. You're committed to that. But like to not give a shit about worldly expectations. I know you probably grew up religious and with which has more speaking about the cultures of religious background and the cultures of me and my religious background, which dictate and determine how we self-identify ourselves, which change the trajectory of our morals and how we look at things and what we view as moral and right versus what's wrong and what we seek and what we think is good. This is so crazy to me. Like how amazing would it be to just let go of that? How genius, how much further along would it be? How much more to our own potential we would actually read as mixers, as artists, as painters, as podcast hosts, if we just didn't give a shit. I'm sorry, I did not mean to get so philosophical. I'm really passionate about this.
Yeah, no. You're really. Thank you for being honest. And thanks for opening up about your family. And I'm sure that's not also that's a tough road to go down.
No, it's awesome. I really recommend. I wish it was a choice. I mean, it's not, but I recommend everybody have a Down syndrome kid. It is the best thing ever. I wish if it was optional, like you should definitely have one. It's like you're gonna get sleep because they sleep so well. They're cuddly as shit. They're so cuddly. And
Wow.
I mean, if the idea of being an empty nester is not that exciting, like I get to hopefully